Very good morning. Welcome to the live
Good morning, sir.
class. Yes, good morning. Good morning, Bishojit. Good morning, Shumodip. Welcome to the live class. As you know, that I have already mentioned that today I will be dealing with a new chapter, that is chapter number 4, and the name of the chapter is The Landscape of the Soul. So it's already time. I am sharing with you all the screen. Kindly make sure whether you all can see the screen or not. Okay, so I am sharing the screen right now. It will be visible shortly. Okay, so I am sharing the screen right now. I am sharing the text right now with all of you. Please confirm me whether the text is visible to all of you. Can you all see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I think few more students joined right now. I welcome all of you to this live class. A very good morning to all of you. I guess there is someone about to join. Okay, so once again I am moving on to the main text. As you can see, it is written Landscape of the Soul, and it is written by Nathalie Toveroy. Now it's very important and very interesting chapter. If you are very much interested in painting, if you are interested in drawing also, then I guess this chapter you will all like. Okay, so having said that, let me move on to the very first line. So here you will get to know two form of painting. Number one, you will get to know about the Chinese form of painting, and number two, you will get to know about the European form of painting. Okay, so let us move on, and each and every paragraph is very important, and the paragraphs are a bit lengthy. And as I told you all previously also that whenever there is a live class, you should keep a copy and a pencil or a pen by your side. Why? Because of some meanings. Okay, some meanings are very important. In the course of my discussion, I might say some important things that you can jot it down, that may help you later. Okay, now having said that, let me move on with the topic of discussion, Landscape of the Soul. At the very beginning, we will read about a famous legendary Chinese painter, and the name of the painter is Wu Duozi. We will read about him, and this is a mysterious incident that actually happened. And remember, this portion is important for your broad questions also. I think there is someone on the line. Okay, so I move on. So this portion is important for your broad questions also. So let us move on. Remember, European form of painting and Chinese painting, these two school of painting, we will get to know a lot. And apart from that, we will get to know that what are the differences that exist between these two school of painting, that is the Chinese school of painting and obviously the European school of painting. Okay, so let us move on. See, it is written a wonderful old tale. Now it's a myth, it is like a story. Now this is a very interesting story, as I told you earlier. A wonderful old tale is told about the painter Wu Duozi. Now you have to underline the name of Wu Duozi. Okay, Just a minute, I think there is someone on the line. Okay, so once again I am moving on. Yes, a wonderful old tale. Morning, good morning. A wonderful old tale is told about the painter Wu Duozi, who lived in the 8th century. Okay, so you have to underline the name of that legendary Chinese painter. The name of that legendary Chinese painter is Wu Duozi, and Wu Duozi lived in the 8th century, something that is very important. Okay, his last painting. Now, why last painting? What exactly happened with him? Everything you will get to know in this particular paragraph. See, his last painting was a landscape. Okay, it was a landscape painting. So his last painting was actually a landscape painting commissioned by the Emperor Wangzong. Okay, remember the name of the Emperor Wangzong. Chinese emperor commissioned him that he had to paint a beautiful landscape in the palace wall. In the palace wall, that particular landscape painting will be kept. So the legendary painter by the name of Wu Duozi was being commissioned by the Chinese emperor in the 8th century. The name of the Chinese emperor is Wangzong. So he requested Wu Duozi to paint a landscape painting that will be kept in the palace wall, or rather to say that will decorate the entire palace wall. See, it is written to decorate a palace wall. So Wangzong, the Chinese emperor of the Tang dynasty, he commissioned Wu Duozi to paint a landscape to decorate the palace wall. Now let's see whether Wu Duozi completed the painting or not. Okay, the master had hidden his work. Who is the master here? The master is here Wu Duozi. Okay, because he was a legend. He was a master Chinese painter. Okay, so the master had hidden his work behind a screen. Screen, you can say, behind a curtain also you can say. That means he completed the entire project. The project was related with the drawing of a beautiful landscape that will adorn or that will decorate the palace wall. He had created that one. Now see, to decorate a palace wall, the emperor had hidden. The meaning of hidden, as you know by this time, conceal his work behind a screen, so only the emperor would see it. Okay, so it was been kept, or rather to say concealed or hidden behind a curtain or behind a screen by Wu Duozi in such a way that the emperor would only see it. Wait a minute, I guess there is someone on the line. Okay, so I am moving once again. So it was kept in such a way that only the emperor could see it. Okay, now you see, for a long while the emperor, and who is the emperor? Wangzong. You should know about his name. His name is Wangzong. So see, for a long while the emperor admired. Okay, so emperor means Wangzong. He saw the painting. He was very impressed. He admired the painting. Okay, see, the emperor admired the wonderful scene. That means it's a landscape painting. So a natural scenery has been projected in that particular landscape painting. So the emperor was very, very impressed. See, the emperor admired the wonderful scene, wonderful scenery, discovering forest, high mountains. Please underline, these things are very important. What are the things that the emperor could identify by looking at that beautiful landscape painting as painted by Wu Duozi. What are the things he could identify? He could identify the forest, high mountains, waterfalls, clouds floating in an immense sky, men on hilly paths, birds in flight. So these things please underline. So these things are visible in the painting. What are the things that are visible? And these things are discovered by the emperor also. He discovered the forest, he discovered the high mountains, he discovered waterfalls, he discovered clouds, floating in the blue horizon in the sky. Then obviously he saw in the picture men walking or traveling in the hilly paths. He also discovered in that beautiful landscape painting birds in motion, or rather to say birds in flight. So he was very, very impressed with the entire landscape painting. I repeat one more time, dear students, he was very, very impressed with the entire landscape painting. Now at this moment, Wu Duozi, the famous Chinese painter who painted that landscape painting, the famous mysterious Chinese painter of the 8th century, he was also standing very much near to the Chinese emperor. Look what he said. "Look, sir," said the painter, and here I quote, "in this cave at the foot of the mountain dwells a spirit." That means what Wu Duozi is trying to say to the Chinese emperor, that in this particular landscape painting, at the very bottom of this particular landscape painting, there is a cave, and inside that cave there lives a spirit. The meaning of dwells means to inhabit, or we can say live. So there lives a spirit at the bottom of the mountain, or at the foot of the mountain. There lives a spirit. So let me move on right now. So it's a mysterious painting painted by a mysterious yet legendary painter who told the Chinese emperor that obviously there is a cave inside the painting, and inside that cave there is a spirit. Now see, now this is a story, this is a myth. Now whether to believe it real or not, it depends on us, but it is associated with the ancient Chinese folklore. It is a story, it's a myth. Now see what happened. After Wu Duozi told the Chinese emperor Wangzong that inside the cave there is a spirit, and obviously the cave is located at the bottom or at the foot of the mountain. Now after saying this, Wu Duozi clapped his hands. All of a sudden, see, the painter clapped his hands and the entrance to the cave opened. All of a sudden, inside the painting there was a cave. Wu Duozi clapped his hands and the door or the entrance of the cave automatically opened. Now that is something surprising. That means a cave opened inside the painting. The painting is very beautiful, and even inside the cave it is very splendid. Now you see, the inside is splendid beyond anything words can convey. Now obviously Wu Duozi clapped his hands, and all of a sudden inside the painting there was a cave. All of a sudden the entrance of the cave opened. It's very hard to believe, but it is a myth, it's a story, it's a mysterious story, we can say. Now see, the inside is very beautiful, much more beautiful than what was projected in the exterior part of the landscape painting. Even the interior part was more beautiful. See, the inside is splendid beyond anything words can convey. Yes, the inside was much more splendid, beyond anything that actually words can convey. That means hardly anyone can describe. The emperor was spellbound. Okay, just a minute. I guess there is someone on the line. Let me allow. Yes. So I am moving once again. The emperor was spellbound because obviously.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the live class. I am dealing with landscape of the soul. Just now I have started. So as I was saying, the emperor was spellbound by the landscape painting, by looking at the exterior part of the landscape painting. But when Wu Daozi clapped his hands, and all of a sudden inside the painting there was a cave. Now all of a sudden automatically the entrance to the cave opened, and even inside the cave it was looking much more splendid. That means the exterior part. Inside the cave means cave is inside the landscape painting only. So when the entrance to the cave opened, even inside that cave it was looking splendid, it was looking magnificent, or rather to say it was looking much more splendid. Okay, beyond anything words can convey. And inside was so beautiful, and it was so beautiful, it was so aesthetic, it was so artistic that it was beyond anything words can convey. The emperor, who was so impressed with the exterior part of the landscape painting, this is a big surprise for him, and he is very much surprised and very much impressed by looking at the interior part of the cave. All of a sudden, as you know, Wu Daozi clapped his hands, and obviously the entrance to the cave opened. We all know about it. So now let us move on. See, the painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him. Okay, so at first Wu Daozi decided to enter inside his own painting. Okay, dear boys, as I repeat one more time, he obviously clapped his hands. There was a cave inside the inside the landscape painting. So the entrance of the cave opened, as you know. Wu Daozi was the one who entered the cave, but before the Chinese emperor Wangzong could enter along with Wu Daozi, what exactly happened? The walls of the cave, or the door of the cave, closed from behind. See, it is written, the painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him. Okay, mysteriously the painter clapped his hands, then obviously the door of the cave opened inside that landscape painting. So obviously inside the landscape painting, since the door of the cave opened because he clapped his hands, he entered, and he requested the emperor to follow him. But before the emperor, you know by this time, the Chinese emperor Wangzong, before he decided to enter, already Wu Daozi entered the painting. Now before the Chinese emperor decided to enter, all of a sudden, under mysterious circumstances, the door, or rather to say, yes, we can say the entrance door of the cave closed, and obviously Wu Daozi was inside. See this line, the painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him. All of a sudden the entrance door of the cave closed behind him, and before the astonished emperor could move or utter a word. Now all these things happened within a fraction of a second, and Wangzong, the Chinese emperor, he couldn't believe it, what he saw in front of his eyes. His legendary painter Wu Daozi, who painted the landscape painting, there was a cave inside the painting. He clapped his hands, the door of the cave opened, he entered. Inside it was far more beautiful. Outside it was beautiful, even the interior designs that can be seen, it was magnificent, and the Chinese emperor was mesmerized. The Chinese emperor Wangzong was spellbound. But before he could realize what exactly is going to happen, Wu Daozi entered the cave, and obviously, just like mysteriously the door of the cave opened, similarly again, without much thought, or without the emperor could think what is going to happen, again it closed, and Wu Daozi was inside. But see, the story never ends here. There is something more that will surprise you more. See what is written. The painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him, and before the astonished emperor could move or utter a word, the painting had vanished from the wall. Please underline in your text, this is very important. I already referred to this. Now this is very important. I am highlighting this portion. Now before the Chinese emperor Wangzong could actually think that, hey, what is going on? Okay, now before he could think about it, the landscape painting that was drawn by Wu Daozi, as he was being commissioned by the emperor himself, after the painter Wu Daozi entered inside the cave that was also within the painting, within the landscape painting, and the door of the cave closed behind. After that, all of a sudden the painting vanished from the wall. Okay, and not only that, Wu Daozi never returned back. Okay, now that is the story. Wu Daozi never ever returned back. See, not a trace of Wu Daozi's brush was left, and the artist was never seen again in this world. Okay, not a trace of his brush, because the painter's brush is very important, that was not seen also. And even the most important thing, dear students, the artist was never seen again in this world. That means he vanished along with his mysterious landscape painting. Okay, he entered the the cave that was inside the painting, and the walls or the door of the cave closed behind him. And after that, all of a sudden, before the Chinese emperor Wangzong could actually make out what exactly is happening, the painter along with his painting both got vanished. Or this line is very important, and I am highlighting this one. The painting had vanished from the wall, and most important, the artist was never seen again in this world. That means Wu Daozi, after this mysterious incident, Wu Daozi was never ever seen again in this world. Okay, so any doubt up to this? This is the lengthy first paragraph and very important for your long answer type questions. If you have any sort of queries, you can ask me. Any doubt, dear students? Any sort of doubt, you can clarify before I move on to the next paragraph. Is it clear to all of you? Have you all understood? Yes, it is clear.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, good. So now let us move on. So this type of stories are actually connected with the Chinese classical education, or we can say even some of the Chinese philosophers mentioned in their writings about this type of mysterious stories. Okay, now as I told you a bit earlier when I was dealing with the very first paragraph of this chapter, that these are connected with ancient Chinese folklore. Okay, I repeat one more time, these are connected with the ancient Chinese folklore. Okay, so let us move on right now. Such stories played an important part in China's classical education. Which stories? Stories like that of Wu Daozi, that the one that I discussed right now with you all. So this type of stories plays a very important role in China's classical education. I told you about some of the Chinese men of letters. I told you about some of the Chinese philosophers. See, it is written, the books of Confucius and Zhuangzi. Remember the names, okay, and obviously remember the pronunciation, and also, dear students, remember the spellings, okay, don't make an error. Confucius, Confucius, Zhuangzi, Zhuangzi. Now sometimes the Z is silent. Wangzi, okay, sometimes the pronunciation is Wangzi. So Confucius and Wangzi, they are actually Chinese philosophers, ancient, learned or well-educated Chinese philosophers. Even in their various manuscripts, even in their various books, incidents like Wu Daozi are being referred. This mysterious incident related with the disappearance of the legendary 8th century Chinese painter Wu Daozi has been mentioned, and all this covered up in China's classical education. Okay, see now, the books of Confucius and Wangzi are full of them. They helped the master to guide his disciple in the right direction. Obviously, these books are related with educational purpose. That is the reason, classical education. So those students are deep into classical education, okay, deep into painting and classical education, into art and culture. Okay, so for them these books acts as guidebooks. Okay, they help the disciple means the student, they help them to move in the right direction. That is something very important. Okay, now let me move on. Beyond the anecdote means all these references, they are deeply revealing of the spirit in which art was considered. Now this is something art was, it seems that Wu Daozi, with the help of his art, he has reached beyond the mortal existence of human civilization. His art was something that was beyond that of the normal existence. It has reached the highest level of excellence. Okay, Wu Daozi's painting reached the highest level of excellence, beyond that of the normal human life. It has reached to the highest level. Okay, now see, one story was related to Wu Daozi that I already had discussed with you. Now there is another one that I like to say in this regard. Let us focus on that, dear students. Contrast this story or another famous one about a painter. Okay, now who is that painter? We don't know, but one story already we have read that the painter entered in his own painting and all of a sudden he got vanished. Okay, that was the incident that was related with Wu Daozi. Okay, but there is another one. Okay, another famous painter who wouldn't draw the eye of a dragon. Okay, now this painter, what he did, he painted the entire dragon, but he haven't drawn the eye of the dragon. Now what is the reason? Because the painting is 99% complete, just the eye of the dragon is left. Now why he haven't drawn the eye of the dragon? See written, another painter, famous one, another story is there about a painter who wouldn't draw the eye of a dragon he had painted for fear it would fly out of the painting. Yes. So why he haven't drawn the eye of the dragon? Because he had a fear at the back of his mind. Now, dear students, what was that fear that famous painter had at the back of his mind? That if he draws the eye of a dragon, then obviously the dragon might fly out of the painting. Okay, now that means the painting was so real, even the painter got surprised at the work of art that he had created, and he had a fear at the back of his mind that no matter what happens, I won't be drawing the eye of the dragon, though he had drawn the entire dragon. Why? What sort of a fear he had at the back of his mind? The fear is that if I draw the eye of the dragon might fly out of the painting. Okay, see, with an old story from my native Flanders. Native Flanders is the place where the author belongs to, that I find most representative of Western painting. Now remember one thing, as I told you, that here we will get to know about the Chinese painting, and at the same time we will get to know about the Western painting. Okay, something that is very, very important. Now let us come to another story. We get to know about two stories. One obviously in the first paragraph, that is very lengthy. We get to know about Wu Daozi, isn't it? And again another story we get to know about another painter. His name has not been given. So he had drawn the entire dragon, except he haven't painted the eye of the dragon because he had a fear at the back of his mind that the dragon might fly out of his painting. Okay, so these two stories, I guess it is very much clear to you. But there is another story. Here it is related with Europe. Okay, and to be more precise, it is a story about a 15th century painter. The name of the painter is Queenton Messiahs. Okay, that is the name of the painter. Okay, Queenton Messiahs. Now we will read about him. It's very important because just like Wu Daozi is very important for essay type question, similarly Queenton Messiahs. Okay, now we will be reading about him. This part is also, rather to say, this paragraph is also very important for your long answer type question. Okay, so let me move on. But before that, let me ask you all that whatever I discussed till now, is it clear to all of you? Have you understood? Shall I move on to the next paragraph? That is okay, fine. Okay, thank you for the feedback. So let us move on now. See, it is written in 15th century Antwerp. Okay, look at the name of the place, Antwerp. A master blacksmith called Queenton Messiahs. I told you he was a painter, but that painting instinct was very natural. But by profession, he was not a painter. By profession, he was a blacksmith. Okay, he was a blacksmith by profession. Now let us move on. In 15th century Antwerp, remember the name of the place, Antwerp, W-E-R-P. A master blacksmith called Queenton Messiahs fell in love with a painter's daughter. Okay, so he fell in love with a painter's daughter. That means the father of the girl was a painter, and Queenton, he was a blacksmith by profession. The father would not accept a son-in-law in such a profession. Okay, so Queenton loves the girl. The girl also loves Queenton, but unfortunately the girl's father would not accept a son-in-law who is a blacksmith by profession. Okay, so he won't be accepting someone who is a blacksmith by profession. Okay, see, the father would not accept a son-in-law in such a profession. So what Queenton will do right now? See, so Queenton sneaked into the painter's studio. Okay, so stealthily like a cat, what Queenton did, he entered the studio of the daughter's father. That means the girl whom he used to love. Okay, Queenton entered. Okay, that means the girl's father's studio, and as you know, the girl's father was a painter, isn't it? See now, so Queenton sneaked. Sneak means to enter stealthily like a cat. Okay, very like in a tiptoed manner. Okay, so Queenton sneaked into the painter's. So Queenton sneaked into the painter's studio and painted a fly on his latest panel. Panel means, you know, panel means you can say, suppose a painting is about to be completed. So it is the border region of a painting, or rather to say the border region of a canvas. Okay, that one we can say, panel. Okay, suppose a painting canvas. Okay, if you enter a painter's studio, you will find big painting canvas. It is like a painter's canvas. Okay, where in the canvas, okay, he decided to draw. Okay, in the border of the canvas, okay, he decided to draw something, and look what he had drawn. He painted a fly on his latest panel. Okay, in that border zone, in that border area, with such delicate realism that the master tried. Master means the daughter's father. When he entered, he thought that it is a real fly. Okay, he thought it's a real fly, but it is not. There lies the concept of delicate realism, that you think that it is real, but it is not real. It is actually a work of art. I repeat, you might feel like it's real, but dear students, it's not real. It is actually a work of art. So let us move on. See, so Queenton sneaked into the painter's studio and painted a fly on his latest panel. Panel means on the walls of the canvas, with such delicate realism that the master means the father of the girl, who was a master painter, as I already told you all, and as you all know by this time, tried to swat it away. Swat means, you know, drive it away. Tried to swat it away before he realized what had happened. Okay, now, because initially he thought it was a real fly, but it was a work of art. Okay, and there, as I told you, there lies the concept of delicate realism. Queenton was immediately admitted as an apprentice into his studio. He was so impressed with the artistic brilliance of Queenton. Remember, Queenton was actually a blacksmith by profession. This painting is something that was very natural, and as I told you few minutes earlier, I guess you remembered, it was a natural instinct. In case of Queenton, it was like a natural instinct. Okay, so immediately the girl's father was very impressed. He decided to train Queenton. Okay, see, Queenton was immediately admitted as an apprentice. Apprentice, you know, apprentice means a trainee, into his studio. So the girl's father was so impressed, immediately he admitted Queenton as his student. And see now later what happened. He married his beloved. Okay, so Queenton married his beloved. That means he got the permission and went on to become, please underline, not only he married, but he went, his beloved, but he went on, I am highlighting that portion, but he went on to become one of the most famous painters of his age. And remember, this story is in 15th century. Okay, and the previous one, Udauzi, that was in 8th century. Now this is in 15th century. Okay, so he not only married his beloved, but he went on to become one of the most famous painters of his age. Okay, not only that, he became one of the most famous painters of his age. Okay, so this is the story related with Queenton Messiahs. These two stories, okay, this one and obviously the one related with the painter who painted the entire dragon instead of painting his eyes or the eye of the dragon. Okay, now these two stories illustrate what each form of art is trying to achieve, and what each form of art is trying to achieve: a perfect illusionistic likeness in Europe, the essence of inner life and spirit in Asia. Now, in case of Chinese painting, remember one thing, dear students, as we will proceed later also in the upcoming classes, it will be much more clear to you. Chinese painting is much more philosophical. Chinese painting is much more related with spirituality. Okay, it is related with spirituality. We will get to know about it. Whereas the European painting, it is something that there is a lot of illusionistic likeness in European painting, because we find that the daughter's father was so much confused at the initial stage that he thought that in the panel the fly was actually a real one. There lies the concept of delicate realism, and there lies the concept of illusionistic likeness. Okay, now the important thing is that if you consider the Chinese painting, it is much more into spiritual. If you consider the European one, there is delicate realism, there is illusionistic likeness that is found in the European school of painting. So we read about a Chinese master, we have read about of the famous painter of the 8th century, we have read about Wu Daozi, and also in this class we have read about Queenton Messiahs. Very important, both of these for your examination point of view, particularly related with broad questions. Okay, so I stop here. I guess it's already time. In my next class tomorrow, I will be discussing more about it, and whatever I discussed till now, okay, whether the story related with Wu Daozi, then that mysterious painter who haven't drawn the eye of a dragon because he had a fear at the back of his mind that the dragon might fly away, and this one related with the blacksmith turned a master painter in the 15th century by the name of Queenton Messiahs. Is up to this, whatever I discussed, it is clear to you all? Any doubt? Any questions at the back of your mind? Okay, so everything is clear? Okay, fine. So I end my class right here. Thank you all for a patient hearing, and stay safe. See you all in my next class. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.